So the whole ethos, the whole reason for being is like what I do at the very end of the day is I help people get jobs. And like working is such a fundamental part of your everyday life. It is the majority of what we do in our waking hours. It's what we do away from our families. And so to me, the most important thing I can do to contribute to society in this current state that we're in right now of how difficult things are and the uncertainty in the economy and the world and political stances and everything happening is that I'm just so proud that I can be part of influencing some of the most powerful people at the very top level. And I'm so proud that like I can use all of my brand skills and everything that I've worked towards to bring like real authentic experiences to them to change their minds around this is why work well-being it matters. This is why it matters to have strong employer brand. This is why it matters to have really good hiring events. This is why it matters to have, job postings that make sense. We'll help you with those things.
Welcome to the Brand Brief podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and key strategies that are driving brand growth. This podcast is powered by Brand Method Media Group, and I'm your host, Kelly Kelly. Today's guest is Elizabeth Hague, Director, Executive Marketing and Insights of Indeed, the world's #1 job site that operates in more than 60 countries and 28 languages. They are serving millions of job listings globally. Indeed hosts over 580 million job seeker profiles and connects more people to employment opportunities than any other platform. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you. What a wonderful introduction.
All right, so I always love to start these with telling more about your current role. I feel like, let me just preface this, I feel like marketing or anything related to, you see these titles, but you never really know kind of what's going on. So I would love if you could share more about your current role, what it involved, and what are some of your key responsibilities.
Of course, yeah. And it's so funny too. A trajectory of my career, I've been doing marketing for 15 years. You start to learn over time that titles genuinely don't matter.
Right.
It really doesn't. I came up through brand, so I love this whole point of the podcast and love the vibe. And so brand really is the thing that got me to where I am now. And all of the skills I've learned have kind of culminated in this current role. So I joined Indeed like literally like 8.5 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago. Like it's still within the first 90 days. And it's funny because I've had VP and C-suite titles at other places, but much, much smaller, on a much smaller scale, like maybe, 120 employees, or maybe I was employee number three,
Yeah.
versus Indeed, which is above 10,000 employees globally. So, the scale and scope of responsibilities I have here at Indeed is comparable to, I would say, like a VP level at tech startup or B2B SaaS for maybe 250 employees below, or even 500 employees below, on 100 million ARR sub, essentially. So that kind of helps put into context, like levels of responsibility corporate versus something smaller and titles and all that kind of stuff. My responsibilities here at Indeed is high touch ABM, one to one and one to few for the elite of titles at Fortune 500 and above companies. So we're talking VP plus C-suite titles. So very different experience, but all like leaning all into, the brand relationship building and, partnerships and messaging and what do you stand for and personal brand work that I've done over my entire career hooks very cleanly into what I'm currently doing right now.
And thank you for that breakdown because, like I said, I think, I'm a part of several marketing groups and I've been in this industry, Marcom, for 20 plus years. I've seen it all. And it is contingent a lot of times on the size of the company and sometimes industry or what have you. But you'll find as people are searching for more, they're going off of title and they're like reading the description, like, wait, that's not what I know. It's all very different now. And you gotta have that context there.
Yeah, it's very interesting the world post AI has kind of like really leveled the playing field post-COVID, really even since the last, 5 years, 6 years, things are rapidly changing, and it's a very fascinating job market right now, especially for marketing and titles. Really, titles don't mean anything. It's just about joining a team you're passionate about with people who are good and smart and gonna advance your career. As long as the pay is there, then you're all good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it. So, speaking of your career, over the course of your career, we were doing some research preparing for this. You've been instrumental in scaling companies through successful exits, including sell-off acquisition. Can you speak to how you approach brand transformation at different stages of company growth and what key factors have made a brand resilient enough to attract a major acquisition like that?
Yeah, especially in times of uncertainty,
Yeah.
brand becomes, on one hand, almost like a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, people are committed to kind of cutting costs wherever they can in order to keep their businesses as healthy as possible from a balance sheet level. But on the other hand, the brands during tumultuous times who are not taking risks, who are not standing out, who are not, developing or sticking to their core tenets of what their brand really is for their customers and making truly impactful customer experiences really are missing the boat. So it's a very risk reward situation, right? So I think one of the things you asked me was like, talking about instrumental growth or shaping these brands along the way. The reality of it is that over the course of my career, I kind of developed this brand for myself for bringing calm to chaos because anytime we're doing a rebrand or anytime even if the leaders want to call it a refresh, which you and I both know,
That's a
tr
nice, safe little word there.
sure, but it's a rebrand. I don't care what you
Right.
call it. So trauma bond, my spirit recognizes your spirit. You know,
Yes.
it doesn't come from a place of like calm, collected, like everything is going great. Brands really develop in times of pressure and they also develop in times of uncertainty. And I think just not to interrupt you or anything, because I know we're
No.
recording, you can cut all this out.
Yeah.
But did I answer you? Because I think there's multiple parts to that question. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
asked
I
about like
think
sales
you
loft and so.
yeah, I think you did answer it. If you wanted to add anything else, you can, but I think we got it. Like, basically just focusing on brand and honestly accepting it for what it is. It's a rebrand. And that is not, you can put a nice little refresh on it if you want to, but it still has to come with all the inner workings of what that entails, and that's a heavy lift.
Oh,
Listen, been there, done that more than a few times. So I'm like, I get it. We are trauma bonding on that. All right. Okay. So the HR tech and talent acquisition space has seen significant tech disruption with AI, automated recruiting, and skills-based hiring. You worked, like you mentioned, from the full spectrum from startups to enterprise. Which emerging technologies do you believe are most significantly reshaping how you find and engage talent?
I mean, language learning models are incredible, like,
Mhm.
and it's interesting because there's this process from HR that started like 20 some odd years ago with the introduction of ATS systems, right? Where
Mhm.
they pretty much like started screening out like the different levels of people in different ways. And it's like overlooking like the advance of technology, especially in job seeker area. It's so fascinating to me because there's on one hand, all of these tools to make our lives easier, but on the other hand, without responsibility and oversight of these tools, it becomes an absolute boondoggle of a mess, right? Which we're kind of seeing right now. But it
Yeah.
isn't like I feel like it's like, oh, have you ever heard that saying like, oh, you're an overnight success? It's like
Yeah.
these problems aren't just overnight problems. Like it's like a symptom of something that's been going on for a really long time. So when you ask the question of like, what's shaping things, I mean, language learning models are really, but really looking through AI is the hottest topic, right? But looking through the history of advancing technology, like how many of us would say on one side that the job we do right now is the job we would have had 20 years ago? Like I'm pretty sure
Right.
my job might have existed, maybe. Probably not. But at the same time, like a lot of the fallout we're seeing of reshaping, reforming has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting conundrum because a lot of people I definitely feel are like kind of expressing that they feel like this is an overnight success and now I feel off, like caught off guard almost. And so it's like, okay, how much is it our responsibility to like learn and pivot versus okay, how many pivots are there really going to happen? I'm a millennial. Like this is like the 500th time I've had to like pivot, you know? So there's there's that's a huge subject to kind of unpack. I mean, we can dive into like job seeker ATS versus AI and like the experiences there and there's just a lot to unpack in that area.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and learning beyond what the shiny promo message is, right? Like you said, at the core of this is, and I think people hopefully are past the point of playing around with it and getting to understand how impactful it is in all areas of our lives, particularly if you're job seeking, right? And understanding how to navigate this different tech deeper than what is cool and fun to do and like creating funny, silly pictures or video. You know what I mean? Like I think you make a great point in that is that we've got to dive deeper into the main tech and what all can that do?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, you know, you're going to be seeing quite a few technology companies. I mean, we've already been seeing in the last 3 years a lot of technology companies doing quite a few layoffs, right?
Mhm.
And the reality of it is that they're looking at our org charts, especially in marketing and especially in brand, which is our most often cut brand, creative, content, organic. Like these things are the most highly impacted. Don't I have no idea why demand gen it's mostly because there's revenue and I'm like y'all marketing is all revenue. I don't know, but I have clearly have opinions, but like in these areas of more key pieces that we all know as brand people, as people who like develop stories and messaging and we do human touch marketing, we know that there are elements here that should not go away. But how do we're with all the cuts happening, we're looking at these umbrellas of like do more with less. How can we employ these tools to really assist us to do our best work and highlight the value to these leaders who maybe just be looking at, you know, cutting off the top of like a red line of like, here's where profitability is, here's where we
Yeah.
fail. And so I think some of the interesting things I've seen, especially in social media and as well as like here at Indeed and how I'm running my team, you know, almost coming up on 90 days in, is that, you know, where there is areas of faster analysis is where I've been leveraging language learning models like Perplexity, or we even have a proprietary internal one called Glean, which other larger corporations very likely have, that uses our own internal data to kind of help with like analysis or whatever. But really, I've been using it to kind of speed through, you know, okay, I have 50 Gong calls. And I have, you know, Gong has a great AI download of what's happening on these accounts. Instead of me like going to sales and being like, what are the health of these accounts? I'm downloading all these Gong calls and then kind of putting them through Perplexity and being like, for these top 5 accounts, where measure the sentiment on this grade, and I'm coming up with my own
Mhm.
grade. So it's like speeding the thought process I have. I'm controlling that thought. You know, I'm the expert in that area, but I'm mining those insights faster because I have someone, aka this language learning model, to kind of sit right next to me. And I think that is an explosive, interesting way to really think about how we as leaders start to shape our own orgs and how we are working with junior level people versus something that can be done by a random chat GPT. And so there's honor and space that we need to make for those places for diversity and equity as well. And it's a whole topic.
Oh, I love that. So at your current role in Indeed, you're focused on engaging executives at, the highest of level, the top VIPs, the tip top of the crop. Based on your experience with enterprise clients, what type of either demand gen or account-based marketing strategies have proven most effective for breaking through to C-suite decision makers in talent acquisition space?
Yeah, it is all about understanding the personas of each
Mhm.
individual person because as you start to really we're thinking about it in a one-to-one, one-to-few scenario, which very I'm going to put it very bluntly, not many marketers have much experience with.
Right.
Usually they're mass marketing or they're trying to do brand sentiment at scale. You know, they're trying to influence how a company is perceived by the market at large, or what I'd like to call a mass market, right? So what I'm doing is really like very hyper focused on relationship driven experiences, and it needs to be extremely personalized to each person. And it is fascinating because a lot of the activities we're doing is like engaging our highest level C-suites inside our own company to go out, since they have the clout and title, and connect with these other C-suites and doing it in a face-to-face, like one-to-one
Ooh.
situation, right? So as far as ads go, yeah, of course you can run ABM strategy ads for like a larger target, experience, and you can influence at the more junior level up, and that ladders into a part of what I do. I would never be able to help my C-suites book those meetings with other C-suites if those C-suites weren't somehow influenced along the life cycle of the customer, right? But it's interesting because how large Indeed is, there are so many segments that focus on that's what their job is. That's their only job. So my only job really is to engage the C-suites at this level. So the
Wow.
way, like my typical day, I'm really thinking about like how do we, bolster stronger communication? Where does this sales like loop through? Is there a dead end here? How do we keep these people engaged? How do we keep ourselves top of mind? But on such a narrow level that it's very high stakes and it's very interesting.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like, super high pressure, but it sounds cool because I think there is an element of mass marketing that can get redundant. And it's like, oh, okay, this is our goal. Let's put a marketing plan together. We got email, we got this, and you just kind of you have a persona, but it's a much wider. And it sounds like in your position, it's like you really have to be zeroed in on the person or on the subject itself. And like it needs to be touch points need to be hyper personalized. That requires research. And of course, you have supporting tools to do that, but you kind of have to get into their world, I imagine, in order to really make a difference in the relationship.
Yeah, and this is a newer motion for us. Like it's not like a Google or a McKinsey or an Accenture where they have had like 20, 30 years of like a Rolodex of C-suites where they have these experiences and this is just part of like their everyday thing. So Indeed is kind of evolving and expanding and growing, and this is their, one of their newer segments. And so there's so much greenfield and opportunity for us. And so we're engaging these C-suites in interesting and fun ways. But like, like we were talking about, it is high pressure and high stakes in the sense that like we really need to be mindful of how we engage. And a conversation I was having internally with my team just recently was like, yes, for me internally, I'm creating all these personas and mapping them out against a life cycle with touch points, human and non-human, and then a think, do, feel model, like classic product marketing. And like that's how we deliver brand messaging and like these custom experiences. But like the question I had for my team was like, yes, I have these personas, but like, are there covert influencers? Like, do we need to
Mm-hmm.
create a Rolodex of like, what do they call them? Executive assistants. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
the ones that know the birthdays.
The
They're the ones.
gatekeepers.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, do we need to do a gifting program for them? Do we need to buy them coffee? Do we need to like, I mean, what is it that we need to do to like influence them for us to get the booking accounts, to like get our salespeople in there or send our CRO to like a meeting or have them randomly bump into each other on the street or something crazy like that?
That sounds exciting.
It's cool. It's very cool.
You've witnessed the evolution from traditional job boards to AI-powered talent platforms. Looking ahead, what trends do you see shaping the future of work and talent acquisition? And how is Indeed positioning itself to lead in this evolving landscape?
Yes, it is positioning itself to be a brand leader. It's really, really leaning into AI. I don't know if y'all know this, but they own Glassdoor. And so Glassdoor is like
Okay.
exactly. I mean, it's just like a well-kept secret. So they're involving Glassdoor a lot more in the work that we're doing over at Indeed. So those are going to now be like one central core company, and which I love. It's going to be fantastic. It's a great opportunity. So things like they run programs like work well-being, which measures like sentiment of how well a company is performing from an employer brand standpoint, which is so important and so vital for like talent retention and reduction in like spend for headcount and all of that stuff. Because every time someone quits or leaves your company, it's so expensive. Or hiring the wrong person is so expensive. But on the flip side, as far as like a job seeker goes, there's it's such a weird time because, I mean, having been a job seeker very recently myself, it just feels from that job seeker side, and to say this speaking personally from my experience, like you are lobbying resumes into a black hole because there are so many people using AI to be hand raisers on job posts. Like
Yeah.
I mean, one of the competitors we have at Indeed is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is such a tour de force in this area where they'll post jobs and you'll see like a job account of how many people have applied. And it's like some of the more popular brands get thousands of people within like
It's
less than
intense. Yeah.
it's it is almost in a lot of ways demoralizing. So, I mean, I'm curious about the future of Indeed as it continues to shape its way through, we help place people in jobs like the statistic is crazy. Like every XY seconds, we have like dozens of people who get jobs based off of our board, just the board that we have, which doesn't even dive into the additional tools and like insights and data we have. It's such an incredible place to work and such an incredible platform. So I'm curious to see we are sitting on a gold mine of data and information just from like every aspect of how we can help shape this universe. And there's so much good work to be done, but we're just kind of at the very beginning of like shaping it. So I'm excited to see what happens. We have a new CEO and a new CMO, so lots of new possibilities coming.
Wow. Yeah, that was going to lead me into the last question. Like, what's next that you can share with us? What's on the horizon for Indeed? Is there anything in the pipeline for this year, next year, something you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, for my team specifically, the thing I'm most excited about is, there are some programs that I'm helping develop on my team that really touch and influence the minds of the people who make those critical decisions at companies, right? So the whole ethos, the whole reason for being is like what I do at the very end of the day is I help people get jobs. And like working is such a fundamental part of your everyday life. It is the majority of what we do in our waking hours. It's what we do away from our families. And so, to me, the most important thing I can do to contribute to society in this current state that we're in right now, of how difficult things are and the uncertainty in the economy and the world and political stances and everything happening, is that I'm just so proud that I can be part of influencing some of the most powerful people at the very top level. And I'm so proud that like I can use all of my brand skills and everything that I've worked towards to bring like real authentic experiences to them to change their minds around this is why work well-being it matters. This is why it matters to have strong employer brand. This is why it matters to have really good hiring events. This is why it matters to have, job postings that make sense. We'll help you with those things. Like if something's not working, we'll be a partner to you to like make sure your posts are getting the right people at the right time with the right pipeline. And there's something really special and magical about that. So, I mean, as far as really large campaigns or big things, it's like this is again, I mentioned a newer motion for Indeed of like really targeting executives and helping close the loop and creating these experiences for them. So it's really an open green field for myself and my team. And I'm so blessed to have such an amazing team and such amazing leaders that I work with on enterprise global marketing. But the sky is really the limit, and that's kind of exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's exciting. It sounds like you guys have, a vision a vision that supports, like you said, where we are right now, as opposed to just maintaining status quo or just trying to keep doing what you've always done. It sounds like at least the thought is like, hey, we've got to be doing things differently if we're going to really thrive in this new landscape. So that is exciting, but it can be kind of scary too.
Yeah, I mean, with AI especially, that's like changing the market so rapidly. And I know one of the biggest pushes is to simplify, simplify, simplify.
Hmm.
There has to be a way to get the right people at the right time easier and faster. Can we use these tools to help influence that? How can we measure, employee happiness more to influence people to stay? Or how can we help convince people at the highest level to like improve their company well-being in that way because there are real revenue dollars there. And I know I'm talking quite a bit about like work well-being like programs and such, especially with like Glassdoor now joining Indeed and like the new pieces there. But there's also like these additional AI elements that may potentially be coming in the future for them, TBD for Indeed. And there's just so much that the focus really is how can we serve the job seeker, and that serving the job seeker will ultimately serve the companies we work with.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's that customer first experience that is just so, so vital and important. And I don't know, like you're probably similar in the sense that you've been in marketing for 20 odd some odd years. At some point you develop a skill set where you're like, okay, I can't work in politics. I can't work at tobacco. I
Yeah.
can't work at big gas. Like I need to use my powers for something I feel passionate about. So I feel very
Yeah.
fortunate.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's funny because probably 10 years ago I might not have had that sort of perspective or POV. And now I think that also comes with age and maturity as well as like experience so long in an industry I'm super passionate about, obviously. It's like I have a very clear POV of who and who I wouldn't choose to work with. And it does feel good to work with organizations or companies that you feel tied to the best outcome for them as opposed to just clocking in and doing your job and saying, hey, I mean, if this company goes belly up, if they are doing horrible things, that's not my problem. I did my job. I found them the best CMO, the best CEO. I'm done. I think you get to a point where it's like, I want to see this through to completion and I want to see it do well. There's a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that the work that I do can help more people feel that sense of pride because right now, especially on the job seeker market, it's really tough. Not everybody has that privilege. Like there were a couple of interviews that I did while I was looking for jobs before. I was very fortunate enough to be picked up for this one where I was like, cool, the pay is right, the title is right,
Mhm.
but this job is gonna suck. Like it's just going to be like I could definitely take this and work this for a year while I
Yeah.
look for something else, but like that puts so much pressure on my family and I have a family I need to like be present for and be whole for,
And
and it's
have
like
good energy for. I don't want an
it's
energy vampire that is eating up 8 hours of my day.
or more sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when you start getting into these. Because I mean, like, again, I've had every title I think in marketing, like from associate all the way up to C. Like I've done it all at several different levels, and it's like, at some point, it's like, okay, I really need to look at like the longevity of what I'm doing, and does the title really matter, and does the pay really matter? Like, in to some degree, yes, those things will always matter, but like also, I can't just take any job, and I feel very fortunate that I had the privilege to do that. So
Yeah.
being here at Indeed, I'm really hoping that I can continue to help others find, because not everybody has that privilege. And there are a few times in my job seeking experience where I was like, well, maybe I should just take something.
Yeah, sure. Because the alternative is what? I don't bring in anything right now. Some
Right.
people are faced with that, and that's a really hard spot to be in right now.
Right. And especially for us, like people who are more brand organic, brand focused, especially brand leadership, during times of just uncertainty, it feels like our divisions get hit the hardest.
Yeah.
They ask us to get rid of all of our teams, turn it over to hire agencies, even though that's more expensive. The excuse always is, well, it's an easier lift if we need to fire them. And I'm just like, oh my God. So
Yeah.
it is just one of those things where it's like it's a very tough market, and I feel very fortunate to kind of, use the skills that I've developed. I feel very blessed and lucky, but I'm hoping to pass some of that good, positive energy on in the work that I'm doing to help influence from the top down instead of the bottom up.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that wraps today's show. Thank you to our incredible guest, Elizabeth Hague, Director, Executive Marketing and Insights of Indeed. We'll have contact information for Indeed if you lived under a rock and don't know in the show notes. But if you are seeking your next career opportunity, be sure to check them out. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next time.